Helicopters and police dogs are being used to secure the area where North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and the South Korean leader Jae-in will sit down at the border truce village. That's Panmunjom. A big range of issues are expected to be discussed, including Pyongyang's nuclear weapons program. Our diplomatic editor James Bays has more from across the border in South Korea from Paju.
The final rehearsal took place this afternoon, body doubles playing the role of Supreme Leader Kim and President Moon. Both sides very keen that the choreography is just right because of the camera angles and the images, but also because of the important question of security. This is quite a remarkable event when you think what has happened on the Korean Peninsula in recent months. The fact that tensions had been so high here last year, particularly during the summer last year, and really a remarkable turnaround of events bringing us to this first of two possible high-level summits. What changed? What allowed room for diplomacy? I've been gauging that at the UN in New York, in European capitals, and here on the Korean Peninsula. I filed this report from the North Korean capital.
When you walk around Pyongyang, everywhere you seem to go, you hear military music blaring from shops and loudspeakers. Last summer, the drums of war were beating particularly heavily. It was arguably the tensest time on the Korean Peninsula in decades. In September, North Korean Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho headed from his ministry here to New York to give his speech at the annual meeting of world leaders at the UN. Ahead of him in the speaking order, the new president of the US.
The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
Al Jazeera has learned that hours after that speech, Foreign Minister Ri sought a brief meeting with the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. At the end of the meeting, the North Korean invited a senior United Nations official to Pyongyang, a trip the UN had been trying to arrange for over a year. At the beginning of December, Jeffrey Feltman, then the UN's head of political affairs, made the visit to Pyongyang. In meetings with North Korean officials, Feltman suggested that Kim Jong-un use his New Year's speech to strike a more conciliatory tone. He suggested, too, that the Winter Olympics, which were about to be staged in South Korea, would be a useful occasion to improve relations. It's not clear whether the North Koreans listened to his advice, but they did the things he suggested. The leader's sister, Kim Yo-jong's visit to the Olympics changed the atmosphere between the North and South, starting a diplomatic dialogue. There was another important back channel too. Sweden's Foreign Minister, Margot Wallström, authorised expanded conversations with the North Koreans. At one point it had been planned for Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho to meet the then US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson in Stockholm. That plan changed when President Trump surprised his own officials, saying he wanted a face-to-face meeting with Kim Jong-un, and then secretly dispatched his CIA Director Mike Pompeo to Pyongyang to begin the negotiations.
I've been speaking to diplomats at the UN in New York and here on the Korean Peninsula. Strategic discussions here in North Korea are made at the highest level and done in secret, but everyone I've spoken to believes that the bellicose speech by Donald Trump at the UN General Assembly was what kick-started the current diplomatic efforts. James Bays, Al Jazeera, Pyongyang.